Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm a little radioactive today.
You got a green
I got
glow.
green glow, but I'm feeling fine. So maybe it's my
Well,
aura or
perfect. You
something.
look wonderful, even with the
Thank you.
green glow. But I'm a Michigan State person, so
Oh,
anything green works for
yeah.
me.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
My name is Tricia Broderick,
And I'm Diana Larsen.
and we co-wrote Lead Without Blame. And once a month, we come together unscripted. Well, yeah, it is unscripted. We pick a topic, and then we see what happens.
Yeah.
During our conversation. And it's just a way for us to, one, selfishly keep meeting and keep enjoying each other and continue our learning and our thought process, but also to keep digging in deeper into the book in different ways and provide maybe a little value for other people as they're looking at these same topics and whatnot. So today's topic, do you want to share a little bit about what today's topic is and why we picked it?
No, I want you to, because I keep forgetting it. That's how unscripted this is.
Proof that it's not scripted, people.
It was something that comes at, gaining momentum after you make a shift.
Yeah,
That
shifting gears, like
shifting gears. Yeah.
shifting gears, and how do you pick up some momentum
Yes.
and what that looks like. And so,
Mhm.
even with saying that, what comes up
Yeah.
for you right off the bat?
Well, I actually, it's funny because I keep grasping our topic and then losing it and then getting it back again. And one of the things
The irony is not lost in that at all.
Right. Yes, I live our topics. One of the things that has come up with me is the metaphor of shifting gears and what actually happens. I mean, it's an automobile metaphor or a motorcycle metaphor, or it's a mechanical metaphor. What happens when we shift gears? I guess we could upshift or downshift. And we either, I mean, to some extent, if we're going along and going along and going along, and then we shift into a higher gear, we get some ease, right? Things don't feel like they're working as hard. Those gears are helping us, that, we're looking for help from that. If we downshift, we're trying to kind of pull in, right? And so shifting gears after making a significant change in my life or your life or our lives, it has that sense for me of thinking about, do I need to go into a higher gear, right? Do I need to kind of gear things up, or do I need to downshift a bit right now? And it has to do with sort of paying attention to what kinds of changes have happened in our lives, and what response do we want to make to that happening. And I've been thinking about that a lot because I have been through a lot of different changes and a lot of different, I don't even have to pay attention to real options because so many opportunities keep coming up in my life. And it's like, how do I sort through them? How do I decide which of these opportunities I want to take advantage of and which don't I? And even in the midst of, I have a lot of friends who've lost their jobs and those kinds of things, but there's still choices to be made. And we're in a really overwhelming time. But if we can kind of refocus on, but we still have choices. We still get to choose. We always get to choose our response to a thing. Actually, that's like circles and soup, right? When we're in the soup, one of the few things we can change is we can change our response to the conditions. We can decide to do something different. And so all of those kind of thoughts have been coming up for me around this topic. What about you?
Well, while you were talking, it actually made me think of two things. One, I really leaned into like having like flashbacks of learning how to drive a manual, and there is an element of, it was a feel, right? Every situation, every clutch was different. Every scenario was different, but there was a feel of was the engine work? Was it working too hard? What was the sounds, right?
Right.
Like, what did it feel like? Was it pulling or was it not? And you use those clues to help you know when to shift and what you were doing with things. But I then also had a flashback to the first time I drove a Mustang 5.0
Whoa.
and shifted based on those clues, and did not understand the clutch was the same as in a beat up truck, and fishtailed almost into the ditch.
Oh,
so it made me, like, I thought of that memory, but then there was this moment of paying attention to where I'm at to be able to gain momentum, but also understanding that I can get too excited about a new gear, too excited about a new opportunity, too excited, and I overdo it, right? Like, and the very thing that's supposed to be helping me gain momentum can actually cause too much and throw me right into a ditch. I did not go into the ditch, though. I did not. I somehow pulled that off.
You pulled it out.
Confident he would have broken up with me after that, but like, like it was close. It was close. Right. Good thing for big country back roads.
Really.
But it did make me think of, like, that there are times that I can get so excited when I shift a gear that I almost get too wrapped up into it and I over momentum and cause a new set of challenges and issues that isn't really what I'm hoping for or gaining from either.
Yeah. There's wisdom in thinking about things in a nuance, and when we shift gears, paying attention to what's happening around us when we've done that, and how has this made things better? What clues are we getting about what our other opportunities are? Those kinds of things I think are really important to pay attention to. I mean, we are all, so many of us are people I'm talking to pretty much universally tell me this. So many of us are in some aspect of a state of change, right? Something is shifting pretty much in everybody's lives. And what gear do we need to be in, when we experience this, and what will work best to take us forward, and or to maybe self-care. Maybe we just need to, like, take a lower gear and do some self-care or whatever. And this metaphor probably is not going to serve me well over time,
but it actually is working for me a little bit, in the sense of, like, me going slow at first is important, otherwise it will. And also there is an element, like, I just had a flashback for learning, if you're on a hill, you're going to go backwards before you go forwards, and don't get too close, right? And so there is a little bit of that acceptance that momentum is not always linear, right? That momentum is not always fast, and just because you shifted again, just because you decided something, it's going to be instantaneous, it's going to be fast, it's going to be linear, and acceptance of that, almost permission to slow down, permission to maybe even take a step back to go forward. It is really important for me when I'm reevaluating and rebalancing and retaking care of and listening to what everything is there. I almost have to give myself permission to do that slow down, to accept maybe taking a step back, to take a step forward, and that's not always easy for my check mark brain, but it is necessary.
Well, to take a breath. I mean, what you just described put, these metaphors, they just put us in a place, right? I was put right back on a hill in Seattle where I was heading uphill, and I got stopped at a stoplight, and I was in I don't know how I ended up in a car that was a stick shift, but I was in a stick shift car, and the road was so slick. And the light changed, and I did the thing where I wanted to go forward, changed my gear to go. I was in first gear, wanted to go forward, and the car literally started drifting backwards down the hill. And I'm like looking in my rearview mirror at the sound, the Puget Sound behind me. I was in that part of downtown Seattle, for those of you who live there. It might have been Cherry Street or one of those. And in the moment I thought, no, I just have to take a breath, keep doing what I'm doing. And of course, then everything, I'm here today to tell the tale. Everything caught, and I continued up. But there was that moment where I wasn't sure if we were going forward or going backward. And it was, I have such a picture. I was under a viaduct. I mean, I have such a picture of that, because it was one of those moments that was so fraught that I remember almost all the detail of it. But it is around that, are we, can we take a breath? Can we hold our intention? Can we keep that going without getting frantic about it, or frenetic, or throw our hands in the air because it didn't happen right immediately when we wanted it to, or whatever that happens to be. After that, I made sure I always got automatic shifts, but even then.
It makes me think of my other tip that I do when I'm trying to gain a little momentum is I don't always, I look for people to partner it with, right? Because I'm actually strangely calmer when somebody else is with me. I don't know if it's, I would love to tell you it's altruistic and that I'm like, yeah, but it's probably pride and ego, right? Like things of just like keep it together, Tricia. You don't want her to think you're losing your mind, right? But there is an element of that collaboration, having somebody in the moment when you're trying to gain that momentum again of, is this really even happening?
Right.
How do we want to respond to it, and not feeling alone in that moment to make you want to throw your hands up?
Yeah.
But also, there's a sense of responsibility that I'll have that I'm like, I don't want to let this person down. So I'm in it. Like I'm going to figure this out. And I think just that collaboration really just helps me when it comes to doing what I need to do to gain some momentum as I'm figuring out what this new opportunity is and what that looks like.
Yeah.
I even did a little bit of it today. I am thinking about it is I'm creating a one-page speaker profile, right?
Right.
But I sent it to a couple different people to go, hey, what do you think? Like, what's the, and then I posted on LinkedIn and somebody's like, okay, you can do this and this. And I was like, yes. And just having that back and forth, just having that feedback, or even just the good job, like the compliment, right? Was enough for me to go, okay, now what's the next asset I want to create? What's the next market, right? And so it's not just even getting my little bit of a win in that regard. It's that energy I personally feed off from when it comes to collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're social animals. I was going to say beings, but we're social animals. And, we do depend on each other, I think. I mean, introvert, extrovert, whatever, I mean, I recognize those patterns, but I also recognize that there are times when I'm very extroverted and there are times when I'm really pretty introverted. And it has to do, it's situational. It has to do with the nature of the work. I mean, all kinds of things. And I always need people to work with, no matter what that other thing is, what's going on with that other thing. And I feel, I'm just thinking, you mentioned LinkedIn. And so I was thinking about that and thinking about how I interact with LinkedIn. And a lot of it, I mean, I put posts up, and I know I owe Lead Without Blame a post later this week, and and I do that. But where I get my jollies from LinkedIn is in liking and commenting on somebody else's post, or when I get notices that it's people's birthday, making sure that the people that I'm closer to. I mean, I follow a lot of people, and a lot of people follow me. So I can't send everybody a birthday card, or otherwise that would be my profession. But I mean, there are some days, but I do look through and I say, oh, here's a person that I maybe, had a good relationship with or whatever, and I'll send them something about that. And that's when I really feel like I'm getting the juice out of LinkedIn. I want to know that that I have ways of keeping in touch with folks. And I'm actually, I think even, can I say this on LinkedIn? On a LinkedIn live stream, I think I may even be a little less satisfied with it now that it has become such a promotional force for folks. Because I liked it more when it was just kind of networking with people,
Well, and I mean,
And
I think when it's just the promotion, it doesn't make me feel like I'm gaining momentum, right? Like
right, right,
it feels like it's just adding to
right,
the dynamic
right,
than helping me make progress, right? It's just
right.
it could be more noise. And I think that's one of the other
Yeah,
tips that I have. April Jefferson's on. She said taking a breath
yeah,
is vital for her. So hi,
yeah,
April, welcome.
yeah,
And but I think one of the other things is
yeah,
limiting the noise that's coming at me so
right,
I can gain momentum in the thing that I'm focused on, right?
yeah, right,
And that's hard for me as the person that wants to be out there doing lots of different things. And I do still say, I actually just had to check myself the other day because I was like, I should not have said yes. Dang it, right? Like,
yeah,
I say yes too much and it creates too much noise for me, which then makes it really difficult for me to gain that momentum. And
right,
so when I'm really realizing that I'm kind of stalling, that I'm just not getting the traction, I have to genuinely do what we practice, what we highlight,
right,
what we value,
right,
right? Prioritize, start narrowing things down, start making better choice, like actually making some no choices so I can focus. And so
yeah,
I think a post notes going back up on my computer, it's okay to say no, right? Like I'm
right,
gonna need to
right,
put that back up because I've got to focus. Otherwise, I can't get the momentum that I need
yeah,
to feel the results to keep that going,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, there's a wonderful, Esther always shared all these wonderful Jerry Weinberg quotes with me. And one of the things that she would say is, if that he would say is, if you don't say no to things, your yes doesn't mean anything. And that pops up in my brain from time to time because, it is hard to say no. And right now, because people are realizing that, we closed the Agile Fluency Project and I'm now out doing some other things. And so a lot of people are getting in touch with me about, wouldn't you like to sign on and help me with my thing? And there's such interesting things. People are doing such interesting work in the world. And for the most part, I would love to say yes to all of them.
but then you don't gain any momentum on any
But then
one
I
of them.
don't get momentum on any of them. And so I'm having to be very selective about, okay, who do I affiliate with right now, and what seems to fit with the other things that I'm doing. And I get lots of requests. Would you put on this workshop? Would you put on that workshop? Well, I've been too diffuse in my interests over my career in the Agile world that some of those things, the other people need to be doing those workshops now, and there's some good folks out there to do them. And I need to be more clear about where am I headed next, not what have I done in the past that
Or
I
what
want
could
to
I still
build on.
technically do right
What could
now?
I still technically do, because that universe is too big. So what is it that is really pulling? If in fact, since the government, at least up until now, has been sending me a check every month, because presumably I'm a retiree because I'm getting a check from the government. If and my response to that is always, well, yes, okay. And what I'm doing in my retirement, because everybody has a retirement project, is I'm running this small consulting company and working with people around leadership and teams, because that's what I love to do, right? So you do what you love. Your hobby in retirement is what you love to do anyway. So I'm still available, folks. but but still I have to be some selective about, how much of that do I take on, and do I limit myself to the things I really love, that really call to me, because just because something seems interesting is not enough. I need to feel it pulling me into momentum.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's part of it, is like, what are
Yeah.
we really choosing? Like,
Yeah.
if it's that hard to build momentum, was it a good choice?
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
other thing that I always check myself. Like,
Right.
if I'm struggling this bad to get myself a quick win or to move something forward, was it the right, or am I doing this out of obligation, right? Am I doing this out of a sense of duty, right? With those things.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you coming up?
Where can people find? I'm going to be at Agile Open Northwest, April Jefferson. I'll be there. We'll get to hug each other. I will be there. I'm going to. It's still unclear where all I'm going to be in May, but in June and to the mid part of July, I'm probably going to be in Europe. And there's a couple of conferences I'm going to be involved in, and I'm not going to just fly over and fly back and fly over and fly back. So I'll go over there and stay. So if there are people who would like to make arrangements with me while I will already be on that side of the pond, as we say, please get in touch, because I'm kind of putting together my itinerary for that 6 or 7 week period right now. And then, in the summer, Agile 2025, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will be at quite a few. My conference list might already be getting kind of full at this stage.
Yeah.
Speaking of limiting,
Yes.
I limit how many I do each year, right? But I will be keynoting at Innovate in Virginia coming up. I will be at TechWell Star West coming up. Or Star East. Sorry, Star East.
Yeah.
I will be at Scan Agile in Finland. I'm super excited. I mean, for all
that's
of
a great conference. Yeah.
I've never been. And so it was one of I've not been to Innovate or TechWell's either. The TechWell Star conference. I've been to the DevOps ones. So this year was a year of, again, making kind of a choice of like increasing different conferences and things. But I am doing a couple returning ones that I Craft. I couldn't pass up going back to Craft because that was just incredible. And then we have Mile High Agile, which will be on July 27th. As an Agile Denver board member, I have to call it out. Very like Sunday event. Everybody check that out. And then I'll be at Agile 2025. I do have a couple of virtual publics kind of coming up, and then I am doing an in-person in Michigan next week. Which is I'm super excited about. I don't get to do many in-persons these days right now, but that is with a partnership with Michigan Computing Technology.
Yeah, Rob Common and them. Yeah. And he's so great to work with. That'll be great. Yeah.
He's so, I mean, he's Michigan through and through. And so it's going home for me, right? With some things. So it's lovely. But you can check us out there at any of those places. We will be back live again in March on the 11th. We picked the
11th. Yes. March 11th.
We picked the 11th. So we'll see you there. And if there are topics that you're looking for or interested in, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.